Hello there. Welcome to the Belmont Pharmaceutical Laboratory. My name is Sean. This is Caroline, and this is Steve. Today we're going to be making two different types of troches, the polyglycol troche and the gelatin troche, also known as the gummy troche. We're going to be meeting with Caroline and Steve a little later on, but first I'm going to be going over the equipment that we will be using. Thank you. So to be measuring out our ingredients, we're going to be using a big weigh boat and a small weigh boat. And to do the measuring, we're going to be using a weigh balance and a little spatula. Make sure that our gummy is cut up, we're going to be using a pair of scissors, and that is to make sure the gummy melts more quickly when we put it into the heating basket here, which has a large beaker with water in it that we're putting on a hot plate, and it'll be heated up to over 500 degrees. And we're going to be using a large spatula so that the 400 milliliter beaker does not move around or fall or tilt over in the water bath right there. Our powdered ingredients, we're going to be using a mortar and pestle to triturate, and when we're triturating, we're going to be using a geometric dilution to make sure all the ingredients are mixed homogeneously to the similar particle size. After they've been mixed homogeneously, we're going to be mixing them into, we're going to be pouring them into a strainer, and then kind of tapping them into our gelatin, a little container that has the melted gelatin. After the gelatin and the ingredients have been mixed together, we're going to be using a Troches cassette that has 24 wells in it. And we'll be pouring that mixture into that cassette and using a medium-sized spatula to even out the gelatin, and then we're going to be letting it sit, and they'll start to form your little troches there. But the next part of this is the calculations with Caroline. Thank you.
Hi, so today I'm going to be going over the ingredients that we're using for our troches. So first we're going to be using silica gel. It is a suspending agent that we use to keep the rest of the ingredients from settling down to the bottom during mixing and cooling. Second, we're going to be using the stevia powder. Now this agent is a sweetener, along with the flavor of choice, so it'll mask any bitterness and make it a little more feasible for our pediatric patients. Next, we have acacia. It's used to add some texture and smoothness to our troches. And finally, we're going to use the PCCA gelatin base, and this actual substance, the gelatin that it will be used for our gummies. Okay, so next we're going to be going over the calculations for our troches. So we're going to be using a 24 cavity mold for our troches. So the first thing we're going to need to do is multiply the amount of ingredients for one troche by 24. And we're actually going to want a 10% extra to make sure we have the same amount of troche material in each well. So we're going to be multiplying by 1.1 to get 26.4. So for each of the ingredients, we're going to multiply the amount of ingredient for each troche by 26.4, and that's how we're going to get how much we're going to use today for the total of 24 troches. The PCCA gelatin base is a little bit different. Again, we're going to multiply by 26.4, but this is the amount of gelatin base that would be used if there is no displacement by the powders or liquid. So next we're going to come over here. We're going to sum the powders where we'll get 0.93 grams. Now, the amount of powders displaces the gelatin base by 90%. So before we move forward, we need to multiply the amount of powders by 0.9. So 90% of the sum of the powders is 0.83 grams. Next, to determine how much gelatin base we're going to be using today, we take the amount of gelatin base that is before displacement of powders or liquids minus the amount of powders, and 90% of the powders, minus the amount of liquid we're going to be using today. And this equals 28.86 grams of gelatin base.
Welcome back. So the next process is putting together the ingredients and melting the gelatin. So all my ingredients have been weighed and put in weigh boats. So since it takes the gelatin some time to melt, we're going to do that, start that process right now. So it's a little sticky, so you just try to get it in that 400 ml beaker as good as you can. Yep, you get in there, there's some comedy to it, but alright, here we go. Use that large spatula, like I mentioned earlier, and just place that in there. Set it at about 500 degrees Celsius, and forget it. Okay, we have our powdered ingredients all weighed out, and we're going to be doing trituration and geometric dilution to get a homogeneous mixture. Taking our silica gel, 0.26 grams, you're going to add just about half of it into the mortar, the mortar right here. About half. And then you're going to add about half of your stevoside powder, half of the 0.23 grams as well. And then finally, you're going to be adding half of your acacia of your 0.44 grams into the mortar as well. Do a little spin of that pestle mortar and then do some trituration. Let's try to get it all homogeneously mixed there. After it looks about the similar size, you want to pour in a little bit more of your silica gel, followed by your stevoside and your acacia. And then you're going to triturate some more. It appears that our trituration has been successful. So the next step is to strain it into our melted gelatin. And here we go. So you want to try to stir it at the same time as well. You might need a partner with this. So Steve, jump right up. You take that in and try to stir it as I continue to put in our powdered mixture. Alright, there we go. And we're going to just keep mixing that, and we're going to pour it into our mold in a bit. And the final addition is going to be your Tutti Frutti. It's a 0.5 milliliter. Here we go. And let's make sure you get it in there and just mix it in there really well. Wow, this stuff smells good. There's not much mixing, and ta-da! Alright, there are two key facts that I wanted to share with you. First of all, your spatula that you're going to use to even out your troches on your 24 well plate, you want to get this hot. So you're going to put it under the large beaker on your hot plate. And one other thing that I forgot to tell you is that you want to turn down the heat on your hot plate so that the water doesn't start boiling. Okay, the next step is to pour your melted final mixture into your troche mold. So here we go. So just be careful not to touch the bottom of your beaker because it's really hot. So touch the sides and then pour as evenly as you can. And then you're going to be taking your spatula that you heated up on that hot plate and just even it out. Alright, and the next step is to let it sit and cool. And the final step for your gummy troches is to package and label them. You're going to take your troche cassette here. Once it has congealed and formed a solid unit in each of those wells, you're going to fold it, place it in the cassette holder, and you're going to label your product just like any other medication. So the therapeutic uses of these troche gummies could be used for pediatric patients who have trouble swallowing tablets or pills. Major counseling points, keep this out of the reach of children, because once they get their hands on this, they may treat it like candy. And with these troche gummies, you don't want to take more than what is recommended, just like any other medication, because that active pharmaceutical ingredient, which is not in this example, may be harmful to you if they were real troche gummies. And if you live in an area of the country where it's always hot outside, you don't want to keep this in your car, because it could melt and it could just make a big mess, and then it could form one big block, and again, you wouldn't have an accurate dosing when you were to open it up and use it. The beyond use dating, active pharmaceutical ingredients have different beyond use dates, so whatever ingredient you're using, just make sure that you use it before it expires. And if these troches change color, then you'll know to throw them out as well. And that's the end of our demonstration. Thanks to Caroline and Steve for their help as well.